Good evening, everyone. I am Jessie Guglielmo, Education Specialist at Maddie's Fund. Our speakers tonight are Maddie's Fund's very own Kelly Clardy, Senior Grant Specialist, and Amber Eby, Grant Specialist, who will be presenting So You Want Some Money. Kelly joined the Maddie's Fund team in 2014. As the Senior Grant Specialist, Kelly is thrilled to work closely with the organizations who are applying for funding and to build and develop the Maddie's Fund Grants Portal. As a grant specialist, Amber works with the organizations applying for grants and also helps spread awareness about Maddie and our mission. Both Kelly and Amber will take you through the steps that you will need to apply for an innovation grant through our new grants portal. Before we get started, let's go over a few housekeeping items. Please take a look at the left side of your screen where you'll see a Q&A window. That's where you'll ask questions during the presentation. Please get your questions in early. Questions submitted late in the presentation may not be processed in time for a response. There are many resources for you in the green file widget at the bottom of your screen. Please check them out and download them. If you need help with your connection during the presentation, you can click the Help widget at the bottom of your screen. This presentation will be available on demand within 24 hours should you wish to view it again. Kelly and Amber, thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks so much, Jessie.
Yeah, thanks, Jessie. We are really excited to talk to everyone tonight and to talk about our innovation grants and our new grants portal. So what we're going to do tonight is talk a little bit about our innovation grants and then talk a little bit about the grants portal, and then Amber's actually going to screen share and give everybody a tour of our portal, which will be fun. So again, I am Kelly Clardy, and one of the Senior Grant Specialists here.
And I am Amber Eby, the Grant Specialist, and we're really excited to talk to you about one of our favorite projects, the Innovation Grants.
Yes, and to get started, we have a poll question for you.
So here's our first poll question. The poll question is, have you or someone from your organization applied for a Maddie's Fund Innovation Grant? The answers you can choose from are yes, or no, but I am aware of them. No, this is the first I've heard of the innovation grants, or I don't know. Go ahead and answer this question on your screen and not in the Q&A window. We'll give you a few more moments to answer that. All right, let's go see what everybody answered. Okay, looks like this is our answers. What do you think, Kelly and Amber?
Oh, I think that looks great, that most people are very, very aware of our innovation grants. So then for most everybody watching, this is going to be a good review for you. And for those that are just learning about our innovation grants or may not know anything at all about the innovation grants, this will be a really good overview for you. So what are innovation grants? So these grants are really designed to give you the chance to tell us what you want to do with the money. If we gave you $5,000, how would you spend it? You know, that they're really designed to foster creativity and drive innovation, to give you seed money, quote, seed money for new projects. You know, projects that will lift up your organization, your community, the industry. You know, think about, is there a project that you want to implement in your organization but just don't have the money to do so? You can apply for up to $5,000 to do that. And with the innovation grants, we do have 15 life-saving categories. So your project must fall into one of these categories. Now don't worry, don't try to write all these down right now. They are all on our website, and the website is listed in the green resource widget at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions about where you think your project would fit in the categories, please give us a call. We'll share our contact information at the end of the presentation. And you'll notice that the categories, we've tried to cover everything that spans your operations, from direct animal care to adoptions and foster to marketing, sustainability, training. So we're trying to touch everything in your organization. And again, if you have any questions about where your project would fall, please give us a call. And a little bit more about our innovation grants. We do on the Innovation Grants website, which again is in the green resource widget at the bottom of your screen, we have a whole list of ideas, a list of suggestions. We have definitions for the categories. So there are plenty of ideas for you. If you're thinking that you'd like to apply for an innovation grant and just don't know where to start, take a look at the web page. Take a look at, we list lists of past recipients and what their projects were. So maybe you can get an idea there about how you would like to fashion your innovation grant. And I do want to talk about the turnaround time a little bit for the innovation grants. So it generally takes us about 8 to 12 weeks to process all of the grants. We do reply to everybody who applied, and we generally get between 300 and 400 applications per cycle. So it does take us a little bit of time to review all the applications. So, bear with us, give us about 8 to 12 weeks, and we will reply to you regardless of our answer, whether we are approving your grant or not. All right, so now you're probably wondering when the next innovation grant cycle is. So it's coming up. It's October 22nd through the 29th, and we have 5 life-saving categories available. And I realized I forgot to mention when we were talking about the life-saving categories, while we have 15 categories, not all categories are always available every cycle. So this upcoming application cycle will have alternatives to intake, capacity for care, engaging the public, managed admissions, and return to field. So we'll have 5 categories. And again, if you have questions, please give us a call about where your project fits in. So in looking at the innovation grants, we do have some grant requirements, and we tend to get a lot of questions about this. Again, I know there's a lot of text on your screen. Don't worry about writing it all down. All of our grant requirements are on our website, both on our innovation grants page and on a separate grant requirements page. Both of those are in the resource widget. And on the grants requirement page, you can actually click on Learn More to learn about each different requirement, why we require it, what we require. It's all there on the website for you. So I'll run through these really quick. So you must be a U.S.-based 501c3 or government animal welfare organization that focuses on dogs and cats. You must be an active participant in both Shelter Animals Count and Million Cat Challenge if those apply to your organization. You must publicly share your annual animal statistics on your website, along with your life-saving percentage and the formula for how it was calculated. And both of those must be on the same page on your website. And I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute in a little bit more detail. Lastly, you must be current on all grant reporting requirements if you have received a grant from Maddie's Fund in the past. All right, so let's talk about your statistics for a minute. We get a lot of questions about why and what are we requiring, and we get a lot of what-if questions. So why do we ask for your statistics? We feel at Maddie's Fund that it's very important to be transparent with your community. You want to tell your community what you're doing, and they, believe it or not, they want to know. They want to know what you're doing, and they can support you. You know, if your numbers are great, of course you want to tell your community that. If your numbers aren't great, you still want to tell your community that because they can support you and help you get those numbers up. If you aren't calculating your statistics and keeping track, you won't know where you are. So keeping track of your statistics is a good way to see where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. Now, what statistics are we requiring? So we want you to post the data points in the basic data matrix. So you don't have to post in the format of the basic data matrix, but you do need to capture all the different data points in that matrix. You also need to post your life-saving percentage and the calculation that you used to find that percentage. We know there are several different ways to calculate your life-saving percentage, so that's why we're asking for the calculation, and all of that must be on the same page on your website. All right, so what if? We get a lot of what if questions. So what if your organization is not a traditional shelter or rescue? So we understand there are many organizations that are a part of the animal welfare industry, a very important part. You know, you might be running a TNR organization or a spay and neuter clinic or a nonprofit veterinary clinic or an outreach program, and you're not going to have all the numbers on the basic data matrix. But we want you to post the numbers that tell your story. You know, if you're a TNR group, are you know, how many cats do you TNR every year? How many colonies are you managing? How many, you know, do you have cat traps that you loan out? You know, that sort of thing. You know, we want to see the numbers that tell your story, that tell, you know, about all of your successes. The other question that we get, the other what if question, is what if we don't have a website? And, you know, we understand that too. You know, sometimes your website's under construction, sometimes you just prefer to have a Facebook page instead of a website, and that's okay. You can post your statistics on your Facebook page, other social media. You can post, if you use your Adopt a Pet page, you can use that. As far as social media goes, though, we want you to post your statistics and your life-saving percentage in a static section on your social media. So something like your About Us page or the About Us tab, as opposed to posting it on your wall, because a post on your wall will just fall down to the bottom and it'll get lost. But something in your About Us will stay static. And I know I'm going to repeat myself again, but don't forget that your life-saving percentage and the calculation of how you found that percentage must be on your website on the same page as your statistics. All right, so I do want to cover some questions that we get about questions about questions. And these are a few questions that cause some confusion, I think, among our applicants. And I want to try to go over them and give you a little bit of information that might be helpful in answering them. So the first question that we get questions about is how many animal lives will be saved? So the innovation grants, they really are designed to be a life-saving grant, to increase your life-saving. So if you're doing a project that is focused on adoptions or foster care or you know, something that might be more directed towards shelter medicine, you know, that number is probably a little bit easier to arrive at. Whereas if you're applying to do a marketing project or some you know, something that falls under the leadership and training category or sustainability, you know, that number might be a little bit harder to quantify. However, we want you to do that. We want you to quantify the number, and we're more than happy to help you figure that out. But really try to drill down into, how many animal lives will be saved. If it's a marketing project, and for example, you are marketing to a new demographic of a new population of people in your city. Think about how many people will your messaging reach, and of those people, how many do you think will actually come to your shelter? And of those people, how many then will become adopters? So really think in terms of, of animal lives saved. And again, like I said, we're happy if you are struggling with this, we're more than happy to walk you through it. All right, the second question that we get questions about is, what are you trying to achieve and in what time frame? And really, that question, that's really where the bulk of your proposal is going to be. We want to know what you're currently doing, how it's different, or how it's new, how it's innovative than what you're currently doing. We do ask, because we get between 300 and 400 applications every cycle, we do prefer that your answer be shorter rather than longer, but we also want you to go into specifics and really paint a picture for us of how this program is innovative for you and how it's going to save more lives. You don't need to go into the entire history of your organization. I know you're very, very proud of it, but only tell us what we need to know for this particular grant. The reason that we ask that, we're trying to make this application very, very easy for you. We don't have a place in the application for you to add any attachments. You don't have to write a whole novel. Shorter is better. We really, again, we're just trying to make it a very, very easy application for you. All right, the last question that we get questions about is, how will you measure or evaluate your success? And that's kind of a tricky question. I'll be honest. Every grant is different. Every program is different. Every organization is different. But what we want you to look at is how are you measuring this grant, and how will you know if it's successful? How will you define success from this grant? What are going to be the outcomes? Do you want an increase in adoptions? Do you want an increase in volunteers? Do you want more exposure for a certain population? Do you want a certain number of community members reached by your message? Whatever your kind of your quote end game is for this grant is how you'll measure or evaluate your success. All right, so that's everything that I have for you tonight about the innovation grants. I'm going to throw it over to Amber now. She's going to talk about the portal and give you a little tour. And I believe we're going to start and kick that off with a poll question.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's wheels are turning now and they're thinking of all these great ideas. So Jessie, if you wouldn't mind helping us with the poll question, then I'll go over the grants portal with everyone.
Of course, Amber. So we've come to our second poll question of the evening. It's, how familiar are you with the Maddie's Fund Grants portal? And here are your answers you can select from. First, I have registered and submitted an application through the grants portal. I have registered but not submitted an application yet. I know about the grants portal but have not registered yet. Or finally, I don't know anything about the grants portal. Again, remember to answer this question on your screen and not in the Q&A window. Also, remember to get your questions in early, as it helps us have time to process them before the end of the presentation. Okay? We'll give you a few more seconds to answer the question. Okay, let's look at the results. What do you think, Amber?
Oh, awesome. So it looks like we've got a majority that hasn't used the grants portal at all. So this will be a great overview for you guys. For the folks who have registered and submitted an application through the grants portal, that's wonderful. This will be some review for you, but maybe if you've got it fresh in your mind, then you can help somebody else in your organization submit an application, or just kind of get a review of what you already know. And for the folks in the middle who are aware of it and have registered, we will talk about the application and the grants dashboard too, so you'll get a little more information. So this is great. This is a great audience for this. So I'm going to start a little bit talking about why we upgraded to our online grants portal. I find sometimes that if you understand the why, the how can be a little bit easier. So the first reason we decided to upgrade is because we live in a virtual world. Gone are the days of you having to download an application, fill it out by hand, scan it, send it in. This way you can do everything all at once online. You're also able to save your application as you go. We know that you have adopters to help, volunteers with questions, animals to cuddle. So this way you can start your proposal, save it, go get some kitten kisses, go get some puppy cuddles, and then come back and continue working on it. You can also view applications that you've submitted and their status changes. The same goes for your grant reports. You can keep track of what grant reports you have coming up, which ones are due, and which ones you've already submitted. The grants portal is also a great place for you to update your organization's information regarding grants. So when you get new email addresses, new team members, you can go ahead and put their information in the portal. So what we're going to do next is go over a little tour of the Maddie's Fund Grants portal. We're going to start by talking about registering for it. Then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Grantee Dashboard, and then we're going to end by talking about our grants applications. For this portion, I will be sharing my screen, so there may be a little bit of a lag between what you see on your screen and what I'm talking about. I will do my best to keep up with keep it right up flowing along nicely. And if you don't see my screen immediately, double-click on the thumbnail that will be at the bottom of your screen, and that by double-clicking on it, it should open it. So I'm going to go ahead now and start sharing my screen. Again, this is the virtual world that we're living in. All right. So the first thing that you'll see once my screen starts sharing is our Grants Portal login page. Now, the Grants Portal login page, you'll notice the URL is maddiesfund.force.com. So notice that I didn't say www. I would bookmark this page, keep it somewhere handy, somewhere where you're going to be able to see it. Now the good news is this link to this website is also in the green resource widget at the bottom of your screen, so you don't have to memorize it right now. All right, so on this page, if you already have a Grants Portal account, this is where you would put in your username and your password to sign in. But if you don't have a portal account, this is where you will be able to register. So when you register, all you need to do is click on New User. This is going to take you to 3 steps. The first step is to enter your organization name. The second step is your contact information. And the third step will generate a username and allow you to create a password. So for the first step, it's all those details about your organization: your name, your EIN, your address, your state, and your counting for folks to use the autofill. We love the autofill. It supposedly makes our life easier. I would caution you against this. We have seen grantees who have had difficulty creating their portal because the autofill filled in something incorrectly. So please make sure that you're filling in this information correctly and completely. Now, this is going to be one of those do as I say, not as I do webcasts, because right now, in the interest of time, I'm just filling it out so we can get to the next screen. But when you're filling it out, please make sure that you're doing it completely and correctly. Once you've got your organization information in, you will be prompted to the page where you fill in your contact information. Again, we are very tempted to use the autofill, but I'm going to caution you against that. What you'll want to do is make sure you fill in all of your information completely and correctly. And apologies, again, I am just going to fill it in with placeholder information so we can get to the next screen so you guys can see what that looks like. So I'm just going to fill in some more information here real quick, guys, to get to the next screen. And one more, going to confirm my email. And the next thing that you're going to see is the screen that auto-generates your username and gives you the chance to confirm your password. Now, when you get your username, please make sure that you put it somewhere where you're going to be able to easily access it and remember it. So whether that means writing it down or taking a screenshot or taking a photo of your monitor with your phone, whatever you need to do so you remember it. Your username is going to be the key to get back into the portal should you lose your password. Now for your password, you get the chance to create it yourself. Your password needs to be at least 8 characters long and can only contain alpha and numeric characters. So no dollar signs, no exclamation points, just numbers and letters. It also cannot contain the word password, and it cannot be your username. So please make sure that you're creative with this. Once you've entered your password, go ahead and, again, write it down. Keep it somewhere with your username so you have that information handy. Once you've got this done, you can go ahead and click Register. By clicking Register, you are going to send yourself an email that will ask you to click on a link to verify your email. This is the last step of the portal registration. The screen's going to pop up in just a minute with that email sample on it. So once you click on this link, you are automatically going to be taken back to the grants login page. You will get the chance to enter your username and your password, and you will be in. Now, what happens if you forget your username and password? Don't worry, it does happen to all of us. The good news is you can go back to the grants portal login page, again, that maddiesfund.force.com, no www, and it will ask you, can't access your account. And just a minute, the screen's going to pop up so you guys can see what that looks like. And you can click on can't access your account. It will first offer you some prompts to help you maybe troubleshoot your username. And if that doesn't work, you can go ahead and enter your username and click continue. By doing this, you will send an email to your inbox. This email will contain a link for you to reset your password. This link will be good for 24 hours. So if you can't complete this in 24 hours, you'll just have to go through these steps again. And what happens if you don't have your username? Don't worry. You can call us or email us. We can look that up for you, and we'd be happy to send it to you. We want you to get in so you can apply for these grants. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a peek at what the Grantee Dashboard looks like once you've been able to register. So the Grantee Dashboard has 3 main features. The first is the Grantee Dashboard. Then after that, we have Explore Grant Opportunities, and then your profile. So I'm going to go ahead and look at these in more detail. With your Grantee Dashboard, that's the first tab in the Grants portal. Here is where you find your applications and your Grantee Reports. And you'll notice for each of these items, the applications and the Grantee Reports, you'll see open items and closed items. For your applications, the open items are any grants that you're working on, any that are in progress, any that you've submitted but Maddie's Fund has not had the chance to review, and any that have been submitted and been awarded. The closed items contains grantee applications that have been declined. For your Grantee Reports, kind of the same idea. You will see Grantee Reports that are upcoming and Grantee Reports that are due in your open items. In your closed items, you will see Grantee Reports that you have completed. Now, I do want to mention right here that we launched the portal in October 2017. So if you applied for a grant prior to October 2017, you will not see the application or the report in the grants portal. We get a lot of folks calling and asking us about that. So hopefully in the future, we'll have another webcast that will tell you how to find your historical grant reports. But for now, it all starts with October 2017. You'll also see two little icons, or actually three icons right here. There's the edit, the view, and the delete. So when you're working on your grantee applications, you can click on the edit button to make any of those changes. Remember, again, you've got that save feature. The view is just so you can look at it, and maybe you had an even better idea when you were getting some of that kitten snuggle time. You can delete your application and start over again. For the next tab we're going to click on is the Explore Grant Opportunities. This is where we are going to have any of our grants that we have upcoming listed. And once the cycle is open, that's when you get this is actually where you go to apply. So we will talk a little bit more about this feature when we actually look at the application, but just know for now, this is where you can go to find your applications, that you can go to find the upcoming opportunities and apply for them. Oh, sorry guys, I accidentally logged out, but this is good so you can go ahead and see how the login process works. So I'm going to go ahead and log back in, because I've got my username and password memorized and in a safe place where I can easily access it. And then once I get logged back in, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Profile tab. So the Profile tab contains information about your organization and about yourself. So it's your contact information. Some of this information was auto-filled when you registered for the portal. Some of it was not. So you'll see when this pulls up that some of the information was asked, right? Like your organization's legal name, your address, your EIN. Other things were not asked, like are you a part of Shelter Animals Count? And if not, please explain. It is really important that you make sure this information is filled out correctly and accurately. As Kelly mentioned, we get a lot of applications, 300 to 400, and if you don't fill this information out correctly or completely, there's a good chance that your application will not be reviewed. And you don't want to miss out simply because you forgot to include your life-saving percentage link. So again, even though some of this information comes through when you register, please make sure that you fill it out correctly and completely. Now the good news is you can create your grants portal account and update your profile before the grants application cycle opens. So you've got time to go in there, make any changes, make sure everything's correct for both the organization and your contact. All right, so that's basically what the grants portal looks like. Now let's go ahead and actually look at the application. Again, all of these applications live under Explore Grant Opportunities. Once the cycle is open, you can actually click on the grants that you're interested in. This will give you a little bit more information about that grant. Some instructions, our helpful contact information is there. And once you're ready to go ahead and get started, you can actually click on Create an Application. So You'll see that right down here, create an application. Once you click on create an application, the application itself will open. Now this kind of goes over some of the things Kelly was talking about earlier, and you'll see there's several tabs on your application. The first one is your project information. And this is really, again, the bulk of where your information is. So this is where you can tell us about how many additional lives you think will be saved, what you're trying to accomplish, and in what time frame, and what your goal is and how you will measure or evaluate your success. So there's some open-ended questions in there. You'll also see that there's some closed-ended questions, some yes or no's. Now with these, when you are on no, the question is red colored. If you click it, it will change to yes, and then it becomes green colored. So just make sure when you're answering those, green means yes and red means no. And by clicking it is how you change the answer. Once you have this information filled out completely, you can go ahead and click Save Next. This will take you to the next tab, which is where you enter. Oh, you got to make sure you save it before you go to the next tab. Oh, and now we've got a little bit of an error, but no worries. We can go ahead and get logged back in and see this grants again. The good news is that you can come right back to where you left off. So with the head of your organization tab, sorry guys, it's going to take a second just to get caught up. All right, so we're back in the dashboard, and now we're going back into that grants application, and we're going to be at the head of the organization tab. Now for the head of the organization tab, it's really important to us to know who the head of your organization is. So we'd like it if you could provide this information when completing your application. So the first thing you'll want to do is search to see if the head of your organization already has a portal account. If that person doesn't, then you can go ahead and invite new members. The next page is the payment contact page. Now, we pay all of our grants using Bill.com, which is a secure ACH payment platform. It is really important that you enter this information completely and accurately, because should your grant be awarded, this is the information we will use to send the payment. If you don't know who the best payment contact is for your organization, don't worry. You can go ahead, save this, ask the person who knows, come back to it, and enter it. And should you be awarded, again, this is how we will pay it without reaching out to you first. So go ahead and make sure this information is complete. The next tab you'll see is the organization information. This information was transferred over from your profile, but again, really important that you go through and make sure everything is complete. You don't want to miss the chance to get your application reviewed because you forgot to explain why or why not you're a part of the Million Cap Challenge. Same thing for submitted by. This tab is going to be where your information is. So again, it will have transferred over from your profile, but you do want to make sure everything is correct and complete. Maybe your email changed since you started. Maybe you got a promotion and you have a new title. So you want to make sure that information is complete. Once you've got that complete, you can go ahead to the submission agreement. Now here is that question Kelly talked about earlier. Is your organization current on all grant reporting requirements? You can choose yes, no, or not applicable. We've never received a grant from Maddie's Fund. If you don't know, our phone number is right there, our email's right there, and we would be happy to talk to you. And then by scrolling down, you'll see I have read all of the information. So go ahead and review that information. By clicking yes, you're agreeing that everything is answered completely and accurately. And again, just like in the rest of the application, green is for yes and red is for no. So you can go ahead and click yes and then save. Then what you're going to want to do is go ahead back up to the page and click on Review/Submit. By clicking on this, you are going to be taken to an the overview of your application, and you'll be able to see everything all at once. So you can go through one last time, make sure you answered everything correctly, make sure you told us who your payment contact was, how many additional lives are going to be saved, whether or not you're a member of Shelter Animals Count. You also have the option here to go ahead and either print it or submit it. You can also go back to the record if you notice that there's anything missing. And one thing that I just want to point out is that when you're actually on your computer, this application font will look bigger. It probably looks pretty tiny to you right now, especially if you're like on a phone or on a tablet or something where your screen's not that big. And the great thing is, too, with computers today, we can usually zoom in and make our screens a little bit bigger. So yeah, if you see it small on your screen, don't worry. I promise it's much larger in real life. So once you've got all of this information in, you can, again, either go back to your record to change anything, you can print it, and I would print it, a copy for yourself, or print it as a PDF and save it so you've got that information. And then go ahead and submit it. Once you submit it, you will get an email from Maddie's Fund saying we've got your application. If you don't get this email pretty much immediately after submitting it, please give us a call or shoot us an email so we can go over what happened and make sure that you get your application in. One thing I want to point out before we wrap this up is that this application that I just showed you is specific to the innovation grants. If you are applying for one of our other grant opportunities, the format will be the same and the content will be the same, but the questions themselves will be different. So if you're thinking about applying for a research grant, this is also a really good overview. You'll just want to make sure you get those questions correct. So I hope this is helpful, but again, I totally understand if you guys have any questions, and we are always happy to talk to you. The portal can be a bit difficult. I've had trouble with it. Kelly's had trouble with it. So if you have trouble with it, definitely give us a call. And now we'll be happy to answer your questions together. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so you'll see the slideshow again and you won't see the portal itself.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Amber. Gosh, that was such a great tour of our portal. So this last slide we have for you, like I promised, is our contact information and a super cute little picture of us together. So Amber and her email address and phone number, and my email address and phone number, and the main line to Maddie's Fund, which rings to the grants team, and the grants email address. So we want to hear from you. If you have questions about your application, if you have questions about the portal, you know, anything about the grants that you have questions about, please call us. We love hearing from you. All right, so now we hope that you guys have some really great questions for us to answer.
Thank you so much, Kelly and Amber. That was a fantastic presentation. It had lots of wonderful information. We do have quite a few questions for you, so we'll get started with those. In a moment, you'll see the first question come to your slide area. Okay, so our first question is, and this is for you, Kelly, can an organization apply for more than one grant simultaneously if the organization performs multiple services? Is there a limit to the number of times per year that an application may be submitted?
Oh, that's a great question, Jessie, and thanks to whoever asked that question. So the answer to that is yes, you can apply for more than one grant. I'm assuming that whoever asked this is asking about specifically the innovation grants. You can apply for more than one innovation grant. However, we generally will only pick one of your applications during each grant cycle, just one to award. So we'll likely pick the application that's our favorite. So if you have, you know, of multiple applications, one that's your favorite, it's probably best only submit one. However, you're more than welcome to submit multiples. Just know that your favorite application may not be our favorite application. And there's really no limit to the number of times per year that you can apply. That's a very interesting question, though. So specifically for the innovation grant, because we're awarding new and innovative ideas, we aren't likely to re-grant something you've already been awarded. But if your idea was declined, we welcome a phone call to find out why it was declined, and then you can reapply if it makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Our next question is going to be directed towards you, Amber. Okay, I'll show up on your screen in just a moment. So your question is, I'm a volunteer and want to get the application questions to prepare a proposal to the rescue organization I'm helping. How can I do this without fully registering?
Oh, this is a great question, and I'm so sorry we didn't talk about this earlier. So a sample application is on our website, and the link to that will be in that green resource widget at the bottom of your screen. So volunteer, thank you for being so proactive. You can actually print that application and take it to whoever in your organization can help you with it. You can start taking notes. And then go back and register. I think a lot of folks do that, people who still like pen to paper. I'm a pen to paper person, and I find this very helpful too. You could also pull up the application and go over it with somebody else in your organization on the computer together. However, you can't submit it that way, and the questions may change a little bit, but in general, that application that's on our website right now will be your best starting point to see what the application looks like for the innovation grants. That's a terrific question.
Thank you, Amber. That was a great answer. Here's our next question, and this one is for you, Kelly. If we receive a grant, what kind of recognition do you like to see?
Oh, that's a great question, too. You guys are full of great questions tonight.
Our marketing director would love to see that question, so good job.
So what we like to see is recognition for Maddie, not necessarily recognition for Maddie's fund, but we want to recognize and honor Maddie, the little dog that started this movement. And we would like you to use the hashtag thanks to Maddie in any social post, anything on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. You can't go wrong using the hashtag thanks to Maddie.
Great, thank you so much, Kelly. We have our next question for you, Amber. The question is, when working on an application online, is the applicant able to go back to prior pages to make revisions?
Yes, you absolutely are. So within that application, you can click back and forth between those tabs. So if you are working on kind of the project information where you are putting in like what you expect to achieve and in what time frame, and then you're working on the payment contact and you just get one of those flashes of genius where you're like, oh, I have a better way that I want to say this. You can absolutely save at the bottom of your screen and click back to that first tab where the project information is and update it. And that goes throughout all of the tabs.
Great, thank you, Amber. And moving back to Kelly, we've got another question for you.
All right.
Okay, so your question is, hi, will applications for Maddie's apprenticeship programs be eventually integrated into this portal, or will that be a separate process?
So that's a very interesting question. So for for organizations that are talking to us about hosting an apprenticeship, yes, those applications will hopefully in the very near future be available on the portal. And I believe we'll be making a big announcement when that's ready. For students who are interested in, or shouldn't say students, for people who are interested in attending apprenticeships, we're going to keep that application process the way it is, with our current application process. We're not looking at moving that into the portal at the moment.
Okay, thank you so much, Kelly. Going back to Amber. When your grant is not awarded, do you suggest we resubmit when it's offered again? Or should we chat with you first to find out if it didn't meet the level of approval and no resubmission would actually be approved?
Oh, I love this question. So if your grant is not awarded, you are welcome to resubmit it. However, I would go with the second part of your question that says, should we chat with you first, and recommend that you most definitely chat with us first. Sometimes grants are not awarded simply because the other competition is so great. Like, we feel the idea was very innovative. It just wasn't as innovative as other applications. Other times, your grant may have been declined because you forgot something like your life-saving stat. And in that case, you could easily make that fix and resubmit the grant. Other times, folks are asking for operating costs or capital campaigns, which is really not the purpose of this grant. So in that case, we would have a conversation about why this grant isn't appropriate for that particular project, and you wouldn't have to waste your time and your effort and have heartache when that grant isn't awarded again. So please call us if your grant is not awarded, and we can talk. You can email us if that's easier for you too.
Great. Thank you so much, Amber, for that clarification. I have the next question. This is for you, Kelly. I know you answered this earlier, but just to clarify so everybody knows, when does application start or open?
Sure. So for the innovation grants, I'm assuming that that's what this person is asking. The next cycle will be open October 22nd through the 29th, 2018. So that's in just about a month. And there are 5 life-saving categories that will be available for that cycle. Alternatives to intake, capacity for care, engaging the public, managed admissions, and return to field.
Great, thank you. Everybody remember to mark those dates on your calendar. I have the next question ready. This one is for you, Amber. Is there a character or word limit for each answer?
There's no, it depends on the question. So for example, a good example of where there is one is in your question, how many lives will be saved? Some folks will try to answer with, oh, it depends, or it's hard to calculate, like actual words. But for that one, it only accepts numbers because we want groups to be really thoughtful about the 35 additional lives that are going to be saved, or the 77, or the 133, or whatever it may be. For in the open-ended questions, like the what are you trying to achieve and in what time frame, and the how will you measure or evaluate their success, there is not a character limit. But again, we would encourage you guys to be direct while descriptive, and shorter is usually better. We don't need the whole history of your organization, as much as it's probably super interesting and we'd love to read it. But for these purposes, we just need to know what you've been doing and how this would be innovative. So while there's no character limit for those big open-ended questions, those 2 main ones, I would encourage you to be thoughtful of the words that you use.
Great answer, Amber. Here's our next question. Kelly, what's considered an active participant in the Million Cat Challenge? If we are just now registering or joining the Million Cat Challenge, will we still be considered for a grant?
that's a great question. And I feel like I'm saying that for every single question, but these are all really good questions tonight. So to be a quote active participant in the Million Cat Challenge means that you have registered, you have entered the data that they're asking for, and you're participating in the discussion group. So if you are just now registering for the Million Cat Challenge, like meaning that you're doing it right today, that's good news because you've got a whole month before the next innovation grant cycle begins. So you have plenty of time to enter your data and join the discussion. But if you have really specific questions about that, if I'm not answering this very clearly, please give us a call and we'd be happy to really talk to you about that.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Here's another question for Amber. Will an application go through if the head of organization information is pending/invited, or do you have to wait for them to confirm to submit?
If the head of the organization is pending or invited, the application will go through. That's an excellent question. You guys are asking really good questions. I hope everybody else is taking note of these because these are questions that we get really regularly throughout the cycle. So it's nice that everyone can hear them all at once for everyone who's joining us tonight. But yes, if the head of the organization is pending but hasn't accepted the invitation or created their portal account, that's okay. The application will still go through.
But I'd just like to jump in here real quick. We would highly urge you, as you're filling out the application and sent an invitation to the head of your organization, to let that person know that they'll have an email invitation and that they need to accept it and create their account. We do know that sometimes folks are on vacation or, whatever. So, we understand that happens. But if the head of the organization is there while you're filling out the application, we would really highly recommend that you let that person know that they have that email notification to create their portal account and just go ahead and do it right then and there.
Absolutely. And the portal registration emails, if your organization has good blockers or strong blockers up, they can go to spam. So if you tell your head of your organization that and then also tell that person to check their spam inbox too, that would be most helpful.
Great. Thank you, both of you. Passing it back to Kelly, I've got another question for her. Would a proactive 501 that works with caregivers and owners to keep the pets in the home qualify for a grant?
Oh, cool. Just based on the information in this question, I would say yes. We understand that you might not be a traditional shelter or rescue, but if you're working with caregivers and you're working with pet owners to help them keep their animals and not surrender them to the shelter, absolutely, we would welcome an application.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. And I do want to let everybody know, I know we're getting to the top of the hour, but we have a lot of great questions, so we are going to be going a little bit over time to answer some of your questions. We hope you stick with us. With that, I'm going to be passing it back to Amber. It should be coming up shortly. Amber, when a grant report is filed and then reviewed, does it show as accepted?
Oh, we are working on this with the innovation grants. So it will show as submitted and approved. And so when we're reviewing them, they will show up as submitted. And then when they're awarded, they will show up as approved.
For the application.
For the applications, yeah. So it doesn't, the word, but when it's actually submitted, it just says submitted.
Yes. But if you're, I'm going to jump in here.
Thank you, Kelly.
Of course. Yeah, if you're submitting a grant report, for your application. Yes, once we receive it and we mark it off in our system on our side as approved, it will show in the portal, in the grants portal as approved. So not as accepted, but as approved.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Kelly, I have another question for you. This one's very similar to a past question with one small change. What is considered an active participant in shelter animals count? Do you need to have submitted data for a certain amount of time, such as at least 1 year?
Yes, I would love to say yes to that. So an active participant in shelter animals count means that you have registered for shelter animals count and that you are currently entering your data for every month. We would love to see that you've entered your data for the previous year. Yes, but we understand that maybe an organization might be new and might not have data for for a full year. So I'm going to go ahead and say that our preference would be that if you have data for the last year, to go ahead and enter that. If you don't have data for the last year, enter as much as you have, and you can always call us with questions. I feel like Amber and I keep repeating ourselves, saying call us, call us, call us. But honestly, we love talking to you guys, so call us with questions about that.
Thank you, both of you, for being willing to do that. We have our next question for Amber. So Amber, we now have a team of 4 people working on grant writing. Should they all create their own sign-on? Thanks.
Yes, please, everybody should create your own sign-in. When you are in the portal and you're actually in your application, you can invite other members who are not the head of your organization to view or edit your grants application. So let's say, for example, I was working on one and Kelly is not the head of my organization, but I wanted her to go through and proofread it. I could add her. Kelly could do it at her own pace from her own desk and then make any changes. So you just want to make sure that that person is added as a collaborator. But I would definitely encourage you to have each of those 4 people create their own unique login with their own specific password, just so folks aren't sharing one login.
Okay. Thank you, Amber. Back to you, Kelly. So Kelly, can we duplicate someone's idea, or must it be different and original?
Oh, I love that question. So we are okay with you duplicating someone else's idea. In fact, we'll love, if there's a good idea out there, we'll love sharing it, and we'll love that other people are catching on to it. And that's actually one of the really fun things about these innovation grants is that we've started seeing a lot of people, a lot of groups applying for projects that, a couple years ago were brand new to the industry, and now they're all starting to catch on, and it's really great. It's really heartwarming. We do love seeing different and original ideas, so don't feel like you need to copy somebody's idea. But if you see that, there's a shelter out there or a rescue that's doing something great and you want to try it in your organization, absolutely give it a shot.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Back to you, Amber, with a simple tech question. Does the application allow pasting in text?
Yes, you can absolutely do that. So if you wanted to make it in a Word document and save it and then paste it in, or you get a really great phrase from someone's email and you want to cut and paste that in, that is absolutely allowed.
Great. Thank you very much, Amber. And with that, we're going to have one more question, and this will be directed towards you, Kelly. Okay, and I'll come to your slide area in just a moment.
All right.
Does Maddie's Fund require a certified accounting audit?
That is a very interesting question. For the innovation grants and really for any of the grants that we have currently available through our portal, we don't require that. I'm assuming this person's asking about like audited financial information to accompany their application, and we don't require that for the applications that that we have in the portal right now. And the reason is, again, we try to make this as easy a process as it is, as it can be. We try to make it very easy for you. So we don't ask for things like audited financial information or for your 990, anything like that. If we're reviewing your application and if we have questions, we'll certainly ask, but we typically, again, for the applications that are currently in our portal, we wouldn't require anything like that.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. And with that question, that will be the end of our presentation this evening. Again, thank you, Kelly and Amber, and all of you sharing your evening with us. Your opinion is important to us, so please take a moment to fill out the evaluation survey by clicking on the link on your screen. Look for emails announcing upcoming webcasts. Visit our website at www.maddiesfund.org and find more educational opportunities on Maddie's University, which you can find at maddiesuniversity.org. Again, thanks for your participation in our webcast tonight. Have a great evening. Good night.